Welcome to Austin Stories, where OP gets fired for 3 bullcrap strikes and then takes her stuff out the door and just wrecks the company. Also available on the Austin Stories podcast, link in the description. Let's get started. Fire me because I did my job? Okay, hope you don't need all of these supplies. Posted by Punk Tyrannosaurus. I love taking photos of people, to the point that I have 2 resumes for applying for jobs, and one of them is specifically for photography work. So I was psyched when I got a job in a photo studio. It was a chain and it wasn't like high quality work, but it was still awesome. I took a lot of photos of very cute babies in particular. Well, the company had a 3-strike policy. Once there were 3 issues with you, you were gone. They made you sign off on every single one of those reports. It didn't matter how much later it was that you got your next strike. They never went away. Okay, it doesn't seem like a great business model, but okay. And being fair, I did get 2 strikes, which were very reasonable. One day, I missed work because I forgot to set an alarm. It was a super irregular schedule, and it wasn't always to keep track of. Mea culpa. The next strike happened because I scheduled a photo shoot for before the beginning of a shift accidentally. The program was supposed to only show you the times that an employee would be available for doing photo shoots, and they changed our hours with very little warning. So the photo shoot that I had scheduled the week before would have been within our hours, but was no longer. I felt super bad for the mom and the daughter who came in early for their photos, and I helped them sort everything out with a free photo redemption in apology. I still got my 2nd strike for that. Now, the last strike. I actually got 2 on the same day. Around Christmas, our store goes nuts. I mean, we have to have twice as many people working in order to keep everything in order. During that, I was training a new employee and helping with her photo shoots and my own, and running cash and taking passport photos and teaching her the rules for them and. It was a nightmare. And what made it worse was that one customer submitted 2 complaints that day about me. See, this customer felt that I was pushing her to buy photos. Literally, all this company cares about is pushing the photo packages, and I was instructed relentlessly to do it more and with more energy because I didn't make enough people feel they had to have them. So, great. I convinced the customer to spend money instead of just giving them free things and not getting $1 from them, like the company was always yelling at me to do. And I got a complaint for that. Great. And then the other complaint was even more ludicrous. The customer felt I was being too bossy with the other photographer. The one that I was training. The one that didn't know how to do the job yet, so I had to tell her how to do things. Apparently, I deserved to be fired for telling her how to do things. I was heartbroken. It's been a few years now, so I've gotten over it, but I was so happy working as a photographer. But here's where the malicious compliance finally kicks in. See, by my nature, I end up doing a lot of work that isn't actually my job because I want to help. I enjoy feeling useful, but they're firing me because they don't want me to sell things or train people like they had told me to do. So for the last 2 weeks of my job, I stopped counting all of the money for deposits. That was the manager's job, even though she hadn't done it in half a year since making me do it. This meant she had to come in on days that she didn't work just to do the deposit. I stopped actively recruiting customers, which is what you're supposed to do in your downtime, cold call previous customers and prowl around the attached mall for people that you can convince to get photos. Now the best tactic was always to find people with new young ones, tell them how beautiful their baby is, offer them a free print of one of their photos after a shoot. Almost no one passes that up because then they have a wonderful photo to hold on to. I didn't feel guilty doing it because it genuinely makes people happy. I stopped taking meticulous notes of every interaction that was worth following up on. I used to make a note for the next shift about how X customer had seemed interested but was unconvinced, and that a simple reminder of the offer would probably be enough to get them to buy. Or I would make a note about someone who forgot their passport photos and whether or not they had paid already. And then, on my last day, the truest malicious compliance happened. They wanted me gone. Okay, so I took my name tag and I packed it away. I went into the photo studio and grabbed the kids' toys that I'd brought in to help get young ones to cooperate. See, babies don't really understand a stranger saying, "Smile for the camera," but if you shake a rattle at them and make silly faces, they're very good at smiling for that. I cleaned up all the things I had laid out neatly for easy preparation, and I put them back in storage. I cleaned up the counters to get rid of all the notes and the passport photos that weren't claimed that day, because that was what we were technically supposed to do. And then came the real part that this title refers to. Over my 9 months working there, a number of issues had come up with the things we worked with. For the passport photos, we needed a paper trimmer to slice off the edges quickly and neatly. We had one when I started, and then it broke. I brought in a replacement. It got broken too. Still, we needed one, so I brought in another replacement. We also had gotten our stapler stolen. No worries, I had one at home that we could use. And the keys to the storage, the extra receipt paper, the passport paper, where we keep the deposits, where we keep our paper files. They were tiny. And the color of them was so bland that throughout the course of the day, they would get lost easily 30 times. I had bought a large blue fluffy keychain to attach to it with permission from the boss. Never lost the keys again, not one of us. We also had a sign when I started there which could pop out which said, "I'm in a photo shoot, please be patient, I'll be with you in a moment," or something along those lines. Because there was often only one employee at a time, and they had to do photo shoots and all the passport photo drop-ins. Well, my boss accidentally dumped her coffee on that sign after she tripped one day. So I went out of the way to get a new one printed, bought a plastic sleeve for it, and set it up with a cardboard backing so that it wouldn't break or get ruined. It was better than the old one. So, of course, when I left, I took my sign, my keychains, my paper trimmer, my stapler, my toys, and most notably, my shutter button. See, that camera had a shutter button attached that would allow you to move about while snapping photos. Again, helped with the little ones because they don't understand directions, so you have to be able to physically draw their attention somewhere. This cord had gotten frayed and not replaced. It shocked me nasty enough to leave a burn, so I took it off the camera and brought my own in. I got a call the next day asking me how dare I steal the company's supplies. I calmly replied that I had just taken back the items that belonged to me, and that they could keep the broken paper trimmer that I had brought in. I even left them a pair of scissors that I brought for a backup when the first paper cutter broke. I even brought them a box of paper clips for using since they didn't have a stapler anymore. The store closed down not 2 months later. Crazy how when you fire your hardest worker over things that you told them to do, and one missed shift, mea culpa, other employees are less than enthused about the chance of the same thing happening. And no one else worked nearly as hard to keep everything in the black as I did. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. I liked everyone except the manager, since it was only 2 other employees and they did their work well and treated me nicely. They just had a better sense of doing what they were paid for and nothing else. And for reference, the employee who the customer felt I was treating badly looked at our manager like she was insane and asked when I had done that because she knew for a fact that the only time I raised my voice at either herself or the only other employee was because it was too loud for them to hear me otherwise. She apologized to me, said that she was worried it was her fault because she had been a little nervous that day because she was dealing with other things and was worried that the customer had gotten the wrong impression because of that. Said employee then went on to have her own gallery show, leaving shortly after I was fired. Now, people have raised questions about why I worked 2 weeks after being fired. Simply enough, there was no one to cover my shifts. One employee was in China celebrating New Year's with her grandparents. One was working on her own photos, which became her gallery show. And the manager would be very, very over 40 hours if she worked my shifts too. And I needed the money and wanted to say goodbye to some of the kids and parents who I took the photos of every month. It was relatively common. A lot of them wanted photos of their babies as they grew and changed. Though this has reminded me of one sweet thing they told me, so thanks for questioning all. One of the families said they wouldn't be rebooking next month then because no one else has gotten their kid to take such nice photos. It felt awesome. It's been 6 years, so I'd forgotten about that. And just another torturous tidbit about this company, they kept every studio temperature the same as corporate. Corporate was in a very different climate area. It was almost always either meltingly hot all summer or freezing cold in the winter. And it has been brought to my attention repeatedly that a shutter release cord does not have enough power to do that much damage, which leads me to believe that one of the commenters who suggested it may have been an issue with the flash setup in the studio is probably right, that I was just completing the circuit. All I know is that it hurt like a witch and that it stopped happening after the cord was replaced. Now, it seems likely that it just stopped happening because I was then no longer in contact with a good conductor like metal. Now we need to check out some of the comments. Serenity Violet says, just crazy. I don't even get the 3 strikes thing. People occasionally make mistakes. I wouldn't give a strike unless it was egregious, and they completely failed to take into account your hard work and dedication. I mean, yeah, like typically strikes fall off like 60, 90 days, especially once you show that you're worthy. Father Duncan Center says, I don't understand the strikes never falling off. Are you going to tell me that I could get 2 strikes, have an unblemished record for the next 10 years, and then get fired because I got my 3rd strike for something stupid, like oversleeping and being late one morning? That's beyond asinine. Yeah, well, it is. It's very true. It's what I was just saying a moment ago. Carrying Comfort says, that kind of place is built to churn through staff. Yeah, and take advantage of young people who didn't know any better, OP replies. Q Junior staff having to buy and supply their own office equipment at their own cost, Junk Dumper says, with OP replying, yeah, I don't do that anymore. Yeah, honestly, like, the company's supposed to fund the stuff, not the workers. Like, if you need a new pen or a new paper clip or something, that's the company's responsibility, not your own. If it were your own, it could be like a business write-off or something if you owned your own business, but you don't. That's not your purpose. That's not your job. OP, man, it's just the worst because you got to work at a place with photography like you really wanted to do, and it turns out that they were micromanaging, not taking you appreciatively, taking you for granted, telling you do this, that, and then when it finally comes that you say enough is enough, well, you actually got the strikes, which were crazy. Then it's like, oh, I want to take my supplies back because these are mine and I own them. Oh, wait, the company's freaking out now. What our supplies are this or that. Well, you didn't take OP for granted, and then the fallout happens. Now the company falls apart, everybody else leaves, the customers don't like it either. All because you let a gold star, 5-star employee go due to those strikes. OP, I do wish you well in the future, and I hope everything is going well now. Great story, way to go. Fire me if I don't take your terrible pay cut. Okay then, watch out. Click the video on your screen so you don't miss this awesome story, and I will see you there.